imagine your parents saved you, but in a sense, you and Lila saved them because you gave them a reason to continue struggling.
I think that's true. I never thought of it like that, but they had a reason through all these horrible things times that they had to go through, all the decisions that they were just one step ahead of us getting caught. So it's true. They had an incentive. They had a reason to go through all this and not to give up. As a child during the war, I never thought of God. I think in my later years now, I look at it as my mother talked to God all the time. And she really believed in talking to God. And she believed that that's what brought her through, what helped her survive and deal with all these things that she had to deal with. Now at my age, when I look at it like it is a miracle. Things did happen for a reason. And the only way you could explain it is God was watching over us.
And then
they came at, from what I gather, 5 o'clock
in the morning.
They woke our next door neighbor. Our streets was attached houses, and all the backyards were connected by a low brick wall. So they woke our neighbors, ran through their house, broke into their house, and jumped over the wall to our house, and broke into our house, and broke down my parents' bedroom door, which was on the floor that you entered. And they grabbed my father and they threw him in the truck. And the officer said to my mother, grabbed her to take her, and my mother said, "You can shoot me here, but I'm not leaving my daughter." And at that point, I want to explain that my sister had a disease called osteomyelitis. And she was the only one of us children that was left at home. They were waiting to place her in a hospital, and there was no room. And so whatever plans my mother and father had, they could not do it until she was in a hospital. And so the sergeant, or whoever the officer was, pulled the blanket off and saw that my sister was in a cast and could not be moved. So he told my mother, "We'll be back for you later." And one of the miracles, I guess, of this horrendous time was that my mother contacted a Catholic hospital, and they sent an ambulance for my sister. And they took my sister and put her in the isolation ward.
Yes. In 1943, in January, it was so cold, the coldest, we were shivering in the houses because we didn't have any wood to make warm the houses. And it was so cold. German trucks came in. They went from house to chase out everybody from the house. And everybody whom they didn't find before, they found them later, or those people who were hidden and they weren't discovered, when they came out, they found them and they were shot later. And they walked us to the train station. I remember the snow was crunching under the shoes because it was so cold outside. Everybody was shaking. And we came to the train station. They were already cattle trains waiting for us. And the German soldiers told everybody to go into the train. and they were hitting, and children were crying. It was a big chaos by the station. It is difficult to describe because families wanted to keep together, and somebody was lost, and they were screaming. Finally, we were inside, and the door from outside was closed, locked from outside. When we came, and we were stuck inside like herrings next to each other. And they were the barbed wires on those little windows. So everybody tried, who was close to that window, to pull out those barbed wires. In the meantime, the German soldiers, the SS people, were sitting on the roof. They went on the roof. They were warm dressed, of course. They were prepared that time for that weather. And they were watching nobody should escape. And so when when the train started moving, people started to crawl out, pushed from inside from that little window. As the people went out, we heard shots. We couldn't see anything, but we heard shots. Finally, my father, and that was the last time my father spoke to me. And he said, "You oldest of three, you three, like for me, my sister Hannah, my brother next to us, you go out. Maybe somebody will survive to be able to tell what is happening to us, because we know where we are going, and we have to stay with the little children together, because the little children, no matter what, they won't be able to survive, even if they were free." But my little brother, the youngest, who was 3 years old, and he started to cry, "I want to live too. I want to live too." And these words stayed with me for the whole life, no matter how I tried to forget. Anyhow, first my brother jumped. He was the first. Then my sister. I was the last one. When I jumped, pushed out from inside, I ended up in a deep ditch of snow. And probably and they shot after me too. But as the train was in motion, somehow the bullet didn't hit me. The bullet didn't hit me, that even didn't touch me. And I listened, and I heard the train, and when the train, I didn't hear anymore any noise. The train passed by. I got up, and the first thing that we Jewish, in our city, some cities wore yellow stars. We had an armband with a star. I took off that armband, and I said, "No more, I'm not wearing it. Whatever happened, I'm not wearing it anymore."
The armband with the Star of David.
The Star of David, yes. And I walked back first to find my sister and my brother. But as I walked back, I saw just corpses. All those people whom I knew everybody. It was a small Jewish community that you knew. Everybody was dead. I found my sister and my brother dead. From that train, I was the only one